All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the first episode of our unnamed podcast for now. You definitely do know the name, though, if you're here. So today we are going to talk about fishing, outdoors, hunting, anything related to the outdoors, really, and honestly, whatever the hell we want to talk about. I am your host, Adam Bartusek. Along my right side right now would be Mr. Cody Hahner from somewhere in the middle of Wisconsin, I'd assume.
Yeah, we're in an undisclosed basement right now. Actually, it's fun to describe my Tinder dates on the address that I'm at. I'm at Industrial Park Avenue, so it's a nice ring.
That's a blue collar there.
But yeah, we're here.
And Cody is here. And right below him would be Mr. Will Stolski somewhere out west.
Yeah, I'm in Bozeman, Bos Angeles, kind of the spot to be here in southwestern Montana.
Oh boy. And last but not least, we got Mr. Wild Game Cook and hunting and fishing extraordinaire, Ryan Pinkalla.
Yeah, coming to you here from the dark bedroom here. So things are
at Ryan's parents' house.
Oh yeah, we're coming to you live from the rents right here.
Keep it down over there, Ryan. They're trying to sleep.
Right.
All right. So with that said, we're going to get everything rolling here. How's everybody's week been? What has gone on this last week? We've kind of just finally decided to do this. We've been talking about doing this for a long time.
Yeah. It's been a week getting ready for this. I'm going to kill you right now. But no, dude, I've been working all week, which sucked big time, but I'm getting ready for this trip I'm leaving for in like 2 days. So that's kind of been eating me up big time, but I'm getting ready to go out west, heading to Colorado on Wednesday. So got 2 days to pack, heading out there, got a sweet elk tag, just going through the motions at work. So we got
City of Chanhassen and hopping right now.
Oh yeah, things are going good. Oh, like I was texting you earlier today. Honestly, it's like this place is next level. So they are switching this office around. They're like rebuilding all these rooms and stuff. So we share with like the sheriff's office there, and they're moving their evidence room to the other side of the wall from my office, and it's like one drywall thickness. So basically, I'm listening to them just jamming to music all day long. I'm sending Bart Snapchats all day. They're just ripping Green Day, maxed out, 8 a.m. all day long.
Boulevard of Broken Dreams.
Dude,
like an idiot.
It's coming through the outlet in my wall. It's like a amplifier. Unbelievable.
I'd have to imagine the Blink-182 new song has to be just blaring up in that
That's
place.
A good tune.
Yeah, they're just in there sorting out drugs, just listening to tunes.
Hey, it's how the other side lives.
Just sheriffing around.
Sounds all right.
Sounds like my Saturday night.
All right, beautiful. Well, we're going to dive into what's going on in the world today in the outdoor world. I mean, does anybody have a specific they want to go off of right away? Otherwise, I got a couple that we can dive into right away.
Well, I mean, you can pick off the low-hanging fruit of the walleye guy, but I feel like, how many other cheaters are there out there?
Dude,
are there a lot more? I think it, because I've seen some sketchy stuff in tournaments where guys bring in like a remarkable like 27 pounds, and it's like, dude, we're on Shawano Lake. Like we're on the Wisconsin River. Like now,
I just think the difference is that the stakes, right? Because if you're on like a club derby, like I'm sure that stuff happens a ton, but like at that level,
that's risky business.
Yeah,
boat seized. You know what? Like, part of me is like, damn, screw these guys, but also part of me is like, dude, the cojones on these people.
Well done.
Absolutely well done. You did it for that long.
Like, yeah, that's just it. It's like, how long did it go on for? A long time.
Long time.
Like, these guys were raking. They were crushing.
Best of the best. The KVD of the walleye.
Yeah,
Jake Parsons.
I didn't have any idea about. I don't pay attention to that, but pretty impressive when you look at how much money they took home last year. I mean, I saw like $300-something thousand. I don't know.
I'm just mad that I didn't think about doing it.
Yeah, and I guess like nobody like bats an eye if your fish are dead in a walleye tournament. I mean, I think that
Yeah, that's kind of the
Right.
thing. If it's a bass derby and you got 5 dead ones, they're like, well, you're DQ'd. In a walleye derby, they're like, well, it's eerie.
Yeah. Like we give them to the kids that want to take them home.
Yeah.
And they're going to find some like lead weights and probably be poisoned and put in the hospital. But other than that, it's a great venture.
it worked for a long time, I would guess, for those guys. I mean, they made pretty good coin. So
Yeah. Well, we can. That's the low hanging fruit. I feel like that topic has probably been beaten to death very much.
Like,
over
it's under the
interwebs
ground
recently.
Yeah.
It's 10 feet under. But one that I did see recently was I got to bring this article up so I can get their names right. But out in Wyoming, Stolski, I'm sure you're familiar with this. The wrestlers who fought off the grizzly attack.
yeah,
Unreal story, dude.
Saw that.
Yeah, teammate Kendall Cummings and Brady Lowry. Hopefully, I said their names right. But yeah, I mean, I don't do the Western hunting. I don't. Most guys here know I don't hunt. I know you guys do. That is like what I'm terrified of happening when I get into the woods. So I could not even imagine. If you don't know what we're talking about, basically these two wrestlers were out shed hunting, from what I've read, and they're out shed hunting. They're on their way back in, and grizzly came out and attacked them, and basically was going to kill one of them. The other friend jumped on it, and to get it off, and then it went to go kill him, and it just ended up kind of going away, from what I've read. I mean, obviously, don't trust me as a verified source here, but from the articles I've read, that's kind of what happened. But holy shit!
I mean, honestly, I'm gonna pick this one up quick. Just I read into this one right away, and so basically, from what I understand, they came up on it because they were carrying bear spray, the whole thing, which is like kind of what people recommend anyway. But they were so close that they didn't even have time to pull it out or whatever. And so when the one guy is getting mauled by this bear, the other guy jumps on top of it and starts like wrenching on its ears to get him to let go of his buddy, which he finally does. But they both totally get tossed, right? Like they were both pretty messed up. I don't know if you've seen the pictures or whatever.
the one kid got chewed, dude.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Like his whole skull, man, is just
Dude, I mean,
serious.
like
scar.
that's some serious Leonardo DiCaprio, like Revenant shit.
well, and they both lived, right? So
and
it's
they
like,
lived.
you know, I mean, this is like a different story, obviously, if the dude is like dead, but
right.
Yeah.
I wonder.
But as
do you
like-
know what school they went to? I mean, I know it was in Wyoming, but do you read?
On the Meat Eater website, I saw Northwest College.
Okay,
yeah, I think
so
I've
it's
seen
like
that. Yeah.
a smaller school in Wyoming.
But I do have to say, like, because they're both on the same wrestling team, like eventually these guys, hopefully they recover and get back to like wrestling or whatever. How do you feel being the first guy to wrestle this guy after he just like
Wrestled a bear.
Manhandled a grizzly bear.
off his buddy, right?
Oh, you stand no chance.
Like,
Man.
there's no
So,
way.
like, you pick up a special power after you do that. Like,
You have
there's a
to.
look in your eye. Like,
Yeah.
the other person,
Like,
one of those across the other person. He's like, yeah, I'm good. I'm good.
yeah. I mean, I would imagine, and he's gonna have like once he heals up, his whole face is like it's gonna be like a claw across. His
Oh,
face.
yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's gonna be 6 scars.
It's
like,
going to be
probably.
sick. Like, you go to a bar with that, that's a hell of a story.
I don't know how.
Right, yeah,
the
somebody's
girl-
like, "What happened to your face?" You're like, "Oh, dude, got into it with this grizz. It was a whole thing."
Yeah. Not that big of a deal.
I don't know.
Grizzly
I don't
bear?
He's like,
I
"Yeah,
don't
I just
know.
jumped on it. It was fine."
I don't know how like the girl scene is at Central Western College of Wyoming, but like
He's got all 7.
Probably a lot better now.
you gotta think like that guy, he's gonna walk into one of the 2 bars that are in town, and like he's probably gonna mop up as soon as he's back to fighting weight.
But how is that for a duo? It's like this guy's talking about all this shit or whatever, and then he's like, "Oh, yeah, my buddy too," you know. Like they roll into this place, unreal.
Yeah, dude, those guys are
Oh
studs.
my gosh.
No.
Insane.
Yeah. So, I mean, that was one thing I had. The other, I mean, not quite as intense, but Cody, having been in the FLW tour, and I know you were fishing the opens for a while, we did have the last open down on Rayburn. Keith Combs won.
Yep.
But we have our new Elite Series qualifiers. So if you're listening to this, you don't follow the Bassmaster scene. I know me and Cody do pretty exclusively since we're big-time tournament fishermen. But just a couple cool notes, I think, in that field that I wanted to bring up. Seeing Coop Gallant, Canadian, make it out of the Southerns. And he made it out of the Southerns, which is what's really wicked.
Very impressive.
And overall, seeing John Sukup make it, and then Bradley Hallman making it is also awesome. And lastly, I don't know if you know him, Cody, but Kyle Norsetter made it. He's from Wisconsin. Do you know him? Or not?
I honestly, I think I had heard of the name once before, but I do not know him personally whatsoever. And I saw he's from Wisconsin. I'm like, what the
Any idea, did he fish any college stuff, or
he must have because he's young.
He was he was at the divisional down in Iowa that I was fishing this summer. He was on the Wisconsin State team. Corey Hauk was kind of talking about him, but I'd never really met him before, so I don't know much about him.
He could have been like one of those like Jay Shakur characters where he just didn't go to college and like just like to fish and didn't fish college fishing and took 1 year and he made it.
Just was endowed.
Endowed it like shrined like.
Yeah.
I'm sure that makes you feel much better, right, Cody?
Oh, it's great. No, it's great. I talked to Chad Smith about it for about like 3 hours the other day. I'm like these motherfuckers.
No, what was Chad's take on it?
I don't want to put words in his mouth. He was typical Chad cool about it, but no, he's like, fuck, dude, fuck. I'm like 27 now, and I'm like, I'm going in my 30. I'm going into 30, man. Like this sucks. But no, it's crazy. Like some of the young anglers that are out there right now, they're absolutely blasting them. Like Coop Gallant is the absolute real deal. He's going to be around for a long time, and guys like that, like you can just tell when you can
tell the young guys who get in, like a Jay Shakira.
Yeah, like
similar to when Brandon got in. To be honest,
like Jay was a local legend around here for years, even when he was like 15, 16 years old. He's just nuts. Like he went on a streak where it was like 10 tournaments and the lowest he got was a second. I mean, they're local derbies, but still that's super, super impressive.
Yeah, it's cool to see. And I mean, feel like we're getting old, getting into our 30s, but then you go talk to guys and they're all like, I didn't even start fishing the Open still. I was
but then Bradley Hallman made it back into the Elite Series. There we go.
Yeah.
We just got to push on, keep pushing money into bass.
Yeah.
And like get there when we're like 47, 48.
John Sukup just made it. Don't know how old he is, but he has to be older than I am.
So I mean, at the opens that you guys have been in, is the field pretty evenly spread, or do you see a lot more young guys coming in?
Yeah, what's the?
I know that's been a fairly new thing. It's like a lot more college guys are just going right for the opens.
I would say it's fairly even spread.
I was gonna say, Cody, I feel like you see a lot of not older, but you see like the retired or the like, and not like retired like their grandpa age, but like the people who retired like, early, 45 to 50.
Yeah, 45 to like 55-year-old.
Yeah, men. And they can go do it. So you see a big group of guys like that. And then I don't know what it'll be like now since you have to fish all 9 to make the elites, but when it was 3, you would see kind of the local hammers were kind of that middle age, like that 28 to 35, 40. And then there was a pretty good contingent of like guys guys our age, like younger. But then all of a sudden you look around and they're like, yeah, this guy just turned 21. Or you're talking to this guy at the ramp and you're like, hey, we should get a bar later. And he's like, oh man, sorry, I'm 19. And you're like, what?
I think you're going to see like a serious disparity from like the 27 to 32 year olds. And you're going to see in this next year, you're going to see a lot of like 19 to 24 year olds. And then a bunch of like those like 40 to, early retired people. I think that's what it's going to be.
You're going to see a lot of the guys who've been able to make a name for themselves in the industry up to now, basically, who have decent sponsorships. And then you're going to see kids who just graduated from college. Maybe they have some family money or maybe they saved up a ton of their own and they're going to go give it 1 year. And that's where I could go fish all 9 next year if I wanted to, but I'm going to wait a year or two and just kind of see how this plays out before I financially cripple myself for the next decade.
So now, since they've changed that format for like people that don't follow it super closely, like how is it changing how you can qualify through the opens now?
You have to fish all 9. So instead, it used to be you could fish. Yeah, total points. Yep, total points, AOI points.
You can't skip a tournament. You are like locked in for all 9 tournaments.
And then what they're taking like the top 10 or what?
What is it, Bart? Is it 9?
I think it's 9.
I think it's 9.
Be 10, but
I think it's 9. I think it's 9.
Mm-hmm.
Which, I talked about this with a friend of mine, and we were talking about this, like how like bass fishing is just getting so huge, and there's such a small like little group of tournament series that can allow for elite series anglers. But there's got to be a point. It's almost like Formula One racing. There's only like 25 guys. Like it gets to the point where you're like, well, we can't accompany all of you.
Yeah.
Sorry. Like you're just not good enough to make it to the group. And if you like limit the amount of people in the end game, it's going to actually make the product so much better. Like
that's where you'll end up getting your bigger end Fox and ESPN type deals.
Yeah. Like you have to like cut the fields down and be very strict on it, I think, because there's so many people that want to do it. There's so many good anglers, but at the end of the day, sponsor money isn't what it used to be. Like,
well, and
you've got to find those non-endemics.
Well, and the comparison is probably closest to like the PGA, right? With like the way that it's formatted and everything, which arguably is exponentially bigger than
huge, way bigger.
So
way bigger.
It's like you see like that is the potential trajectory of like that league, right? And there's a lot of, you got FLW, you got MLF stuff, and they're like very different formats. Like they're basically different leagues, but like it seems like everyone's trying to do everything and nobody's like finding that niche for like how to shape these leagues for like guys that aren't top tier, right? Like
yeah. And there's so much stuff I feel like with bass fishing that just because of their budgets they're not able to show all of it. Like I'm gonna bring it back to this Formula One racing because it's like bougie NASCAR, like Dubai type stuff, like budgets into the almost close to $1 billion type budgets for teams. But they are like, they're showing the intricate details. They're showing the cool stuff. Like bass fishing, we just don't have enough airtime, and they can't afford enough airtime to show everything that goes on with bass fishing, like tournament takeoffs, like the stressful runs, the breakdowns, like all that stuff that actually goes on and happens. That's cool and interesting to watch. They're not able to have the airtime to show it. They just show fish catching.
But the past few years with the live coverage, I think has brought it a huge step forward.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's getting a lot better, and the budgets are getting bigger. Like things are getting better. Once things get a little bit more consolidated here in the next few years, it'll be even better for everyone. But yeah, I just wanted to bring up a huge congrats to the guys who did make it and the guys who are going to go and do it next year. I'm sure it'll be a great time.
Huge deal. Huge deal.
Does anyone else have any other timely topics they want to talk about? that have been going on lately? If you don't, that's fine. We can move on to segment number 1. And nobody else knows what segment number 1 is, but it's going to be great.
Let's just go for it. Let's just get right into her.
Let's keep it moving.
All right. So segment.
He's got a schedule here.
Yeah, Stolski's got something going on.
He's got a lot of loose leaf down.
Did you get something written down in that paper yet?
I got some stuff.
All right.
Clicking his pen down there.
Stolski came super prepared today.
I don't have a microphone. Can you tell him that? I don't have a microphone, and am I blasting you guys out right now? Is that?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh, it's terrible. Terrible. Like
awful?
I'm about to take my buds out right now. Like it's terrible.
It's Adam's fault. He didn't order it soon enough.
Yeah, I will take blame for that. But I'll also give blame to Bozeman's Amazon delivery. Apparently, it was supposed to come today and it didn't. So not my problem.
It's like a third world country out here, man.
That's kind of what it seems like. Except for then I watch Yellowstone and it looks like it's Dubai. But segment number 1, we will go into introducing a new segment, and it is notes on your phone. Quite simply, all this segment will be is we're just going to look at our notes on our phone, literally, and see what we have ran into in the wide world the past week or two while we have been on the road and the outdoors. We spend so much time traveling, running into random gas stations and random places. I'm sure we all have seen some interesting things. Cody Hahner, why don't you start us off? What notes do you have on your phone?
Let's see. Hold on one second. Well, it's not necessarily like, well, I guess I have a bunch of stories from my Western trip, but I'm going to save that for Ryan because his storytelling is much better than mine. But this is more or less like not even fishing.
Yeah, doesn't have to be fishing.
So I found it very funny. There's like this trend that's going on that I've noticed with, if we all know the Jeffrey Dahmer series on Netflix.
Yes. Serial killer, Milwaukee.
People had no idea who he was. Dude, I'm going to put this out there. That guy's on the Mount Rushmore of serial killers. Like, give him some respect.
Yeah, he's like top 3 for sure.
He's like a top 3er, and people didn't even know his name.
I mean,
I know he's a serial killer, but Jesus, like, know who he is. Like, that was
I couldn't believe people didn't know that because, like, growing up, I still remember it. My parents kind of told me about it. It was
a Wisconsin legend.
Yeah,
legend in Wisconsin.
Good old Milwaukee.
Yes. And then, no, go ahead.
Well, I just think it's interesting. He kind of had a science aspect to the whole thing. I mean, it wasn't he was just dumping bodies in ditches. I mean, he had the acid going. I mean, it was a whole production.
It was a whole production.
A lot of work. It's a labor intensive. Well, it probably is. I don't know.
Careful where you step.
I mean,
could you move your left shoulder just slightly?
So, yeah, this one.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, but you guys know, like, it's to break down like a deer or an elk. Like, it's hard. Like, it's heavy, like, and I'd imagine a human being is, it's
got to be something. It's got to be something.
It can't be easy. So.
No.
I mean, guy was dialed. Not gonna lie.
He had his shit together to get this down.
He did.
But then,
what else do you got, Cody?
Then I was also gonna say, this is the first time in a long time I can actually admit this, and this is gonna take some gumption from me, and it might squeak out of my mouth.
You don't have to say it.
The Packers suck.
There it is.
Yeah, I wanted to open the show with that. I was going to say, and here we are.
Brutal.
I think the Packers.
Brutal.
Terrible.
They're bad. Like, really, really bad, dude.
And they don't seem to be figuring it out either.
There's not even like, normally if they would be on one of these streaks, I'd be like the first guy like banging the drum. Like, I want to bang on the drum all day. I don't want to go to work, whatever. But right now, there ain't even a glimmer of hope in my heart. They are a bottom 10, 10 team. They are
very bad.
They're atrocious. Atrocious.
And I'm not saying the Vikings are any good by any means.
I'm saying the
like,
Vikings
I don't
are
think they're
easily a top 10 team. But
I mean, they're easily on top of the division right now. Holy
they're
crap.
good. They're good, but I don't know if they're great yet. What's nice this year is they're trending upward. But the thing is, you look at the Packers and you're just like, oh my god.
I mean,
it is a train wreck.
It is. It's hard to watch.
You're watching a sitting divorce their hot wife right now, basically.
I mean, at least Tom Brady's sucking too. I mean, that's all I can ask for.
You do have that.
That's all I can ask for.
But I will say, how would it feel to be a Chicago fan right now in the year that the Packers are absolutely just garbage?
Yeah,
that they suck even more.
Well, I don't know. They're playing right now.
Yeah, I'm trying to look at the score. It's actually not a terrible day to be Chicago. They're up 23-14 on the Patriots.
I was gonna say I was
in Gillette, so not a terrible day to be a Bears fan.
No, not bad.
We're missing Bill Burr right now. I'm very, very upset about that.
All right, well, go ahead, Will.
No, well, I'm just trying to. Jeffrey Dahmer. What were we talking
coming
about
back?
I don't know where we left off.
Yeah, we talk about Jeffrey Dahmer, but here we are with a muskie mount behind me, and then dead animals surrounding us. We're like, what a sicko! What a human being!
He took it one step too far. He probably had been a heck of a hunter, dude. I mean, he probably would have really been good.
I'd go as far as to say that he was.
He actually was really good.
If you want to cross that line, Will, I
mean, dude, he's got quite.
You could have your place up there.
He had quite the trophy collection.
You got Ed Gein, Jeffrey Dahmer, Will Stolski. Think of that. I mean,
I haven't harvested a human, but
yeah,
I like the Zodiac Killer. That one's my favorite.
That was a solid one.
That's just so intricate, though.
He never got caught, And have you guys seen Zodiac the movie?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it's an awesome movie, and it's he because he was always changing his he wasn't patternable. Not that Dahmer kind of was, I guess, but yeah, he never got squeezed. So
I got a real quick one before we change subjects.
Yeah,
but there was the serial killer called the Smiley Face Killer. And they believe it's a woman who had was out for men, whatever. And she would go into bars, drug men, take them back, and then death by water. Well, back when we were at Stevens Point,
yes,
a good buddy of mine from Wausau West he was out at the bar one night and he came back. He's like, dude, you're not going to believe what happened to me. And I'm like, what? He's like, I went to the bar, I was playing pool, and all of a sudden I forgot everything that was going on. And the next thing I woke up, and those bridge pilings or those little concrete pilings at the dam in Stevens Point?
Yep, on the Point Flowage.
Yep.
He
was laying out in one of those.
Dude, I swear to God, I remember hearing about this.
Dude, so to go off
laying, and there was a smiley face spray painted on the dam. Luckily for him, he's a rock climber. He trudged through the ice and snow, swam across.
And it was winter.
Scaled across, walked 1.5 miles out to the highway. Luckily, a patrol officer found him passed out in the highway, picked him up, and he's like, what happened? He's like, I think I was drugged. And they found the video camera of someone with a hood on, putting this person out on the island, him, and to let him die.
That's crazy.
Unreal.
Crazy.
Dude,
crazy.
So I went to college in lacrosse, and
that
So that was always
all about it.
The bit was that because Third Street. I mean, have you guys been to lacrosse? I mean, right by the river. So that was always the bit was that you had to kind of watch your shit when you were down there because there was this woman assuming the same one, let's say she just kind of travels across Wisconsin waterways, that like would, and it would happen every year. Someone would drown and like they just drown. But like it's very easy to push someone in the river there. It's like it's right there, like you could easily just boom. Like
it's not like you're gonna friggin' drown. Like even if you're inebriated, you're gonna need some serious pushing.
Yeah. You're not just gonna like you're probably not just gonna fall into the river. Like you're not gonna walk down there. Probably like there has to be another. So, but I've heard of that. That's funny. I mean, I think it's real probably. So
it's definitely real.
Yeah.
But,
well, yeah. Considering the story, yes,
confirmed. So,
yeah.
But
all right.
What else we got, Bart?
Do you have more notes? Or are we going to Will? Will, did you come up with a note on your phone?
I got a note.
Or a note on your notepad.
And it's not related to fishing. It's not even related to like real life. But so the other day,
had a big week.
Are we living in the metaverse right now, or what's going on?
Dude, sometimes I feel like this whole thing is
Matrix.
But I was on my phone and I went on to Venmo, not to pay anybody, but I just like clicked it. And I went on there and I just started like scrolling through Venmo. And I got to thinking like, what a strange concept the social media aspect of Venmo is. Like that you can see what other people are paying other people or getting paid by other people. Like that's so weird. Like imagine designing this app, right? And you're like, okay, it's going to be like PayPal, but it's like better and like more cool. But all your friends, unless you go private, everybody's going to see your activity. Like, isn't that strange? Don't you think that's like weird that you can like, that's a side of Venmo?
What?
Every time
you're scrolling Venmo.
I will say every time I go to pay someone, I like scroll down 3 or 4 times just to be like, what's going on?
Right. You're like,
it's not like I go check it daily, but whenever I'm paying, I'm like,
no, and like it was kind of the same thing. Like I think I was like transferring funds or something, but I just like got to scrolling. I'm like, I started thinking about it. I was like, this is so weird that it's like this transaction application, but then it has like this weird like social media side to it. You guys don't think that's a weird like thing to throw in there, like, oh, you can see like everyone's activity,
So how do you think it changes if it shows the amount also?
Dude, I think it changes it exponentially.
Like, don't you want to know? Or like, don't forget, like I would trade the little like tag for what it was for just to see the amount.
Dude, I would love to. I see some things on there, like, like you're like, I wonder what that was for, like how much dinero are we talking here? Now, if they allow that, like,
I like looking at like the apps that go or the emojis that go along with it. Like, on I don't know about your friend group, but there's some friend groups where it's like puff clouds, someone like with like dust coming up and like a person's face, and I'm like, what are you getting into over here, Jesus?
See,
and it's like $750.
Yeah.
You're like, Jesus.
Venmo is a very weird concept.
I was just thinking about that. I was like, it's weird that it has this like news feed that you can just look through.
I love to. You can always tell when guys are on like a bachelor party or something. You just see like 20 people hit one guy up, and you're like, oh, they went golfing.
Yeah.
Golfing. And then there's a snowflake emoji.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they went to Puerto Vallarta and they rented out a cartel mansion, and
there's like the nose emoji, and then there's a beer emoji.
Yes. Yeah. Yep.
I'm spending the rest of my night on Venmo. That's all I know.
I'm telling you.
Just imagining the stories that they had.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm gonna be making them up, and then I'll like text people like, "Is this how it went down?"
You could probably put it into a children's book. Like, remember the time Grandpa did this?
With all the emojis that were on there. That would almost be a good like game, right? Like you show the emojis and you got to figure out like what it was for, right?
Yeah, it's like
what you paid somebody for.
You got what percentage of Venmo transactions are like illegal? Like
all of them.
I'd
But
say
you know what I'm
I'd
saying?
be
Like
tipping
people
the
are buying
scale at, like,
recreational drugs.
That's why they start.
65%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Say 65.
Yeah.
Well, that's
Or-
why, like you see, they're like, they like if you go above or what is it, like $700, they're gonna tax you now.
Yeah.
You see that?
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
Unreal.
All right, Pinkalla, what notes do you have here on your phone?
All right, here we go. What do we got? So, okay. I'll just probably pull this one because. All right. So, I don't know. Where do you guys you buy your licenses, like fishing, hunting, all that kind of stuff? You get them at like a sporting goods store, Fleet Farm or something, or you get them at like a gas station?
I normally do it online.
I think I do it
Yeah.
online now.
Yeah, I do it
But-
online.
But down south, I've done some fun Walmart runs. Definitely.
Yes. Alabama Walmart runs for a
Uh-huh.
fishing license before a derby, and they
Uh-huh.
purposely only have it as 6 days instead of a week, so you have to buy
Yeah.
the full season.
Yeah. Yep.
All right. Well, anyways, so for at least around here, because like for any like hunting ones, you have to like buy the physical tag, right? So it's like you can't just get it online, or you got to wait forever for it to come in the mail.
Mm-hmm.
And I typically try to go to like a sporting goods store to get it because people there actually know what they're doing. But so I go to buy one from a Holiday gas station, which is very hit or miss, and I understand that because I go there enough times to know that. But these people, I'm telling you right now, so I go in there. I don't know. Have you ever worked anywhere that had that? Like back in the day, I worked at Gander.
Yeah, I worked at Chase Outdoors, and we had to do it all the time.
Mike, your mic just went out. We don't got you. Nope. Still don't got you. Now you're back.
All right. So anyway, it's a very straightforward like system, like machine. You just click on what you want to buy. There's like different categories, pretty straightforward. So I go into the one and immediately I already know this guy is not going to be able to do it, but I'm already committed to going to this gas station. So I just went for it anyway. And so I go in, and when I asked, he's like, "Oh, can I help you?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm going to get a license." And he just looks me dead in the face and is just like, "Do you need it today?" Like I should be going somewhere else immediately. Like this isn't even like you look it up. It's like, yeah, they sell them here. They got a sign and everything. Then he's like, I'm going to have to get our manager. I'm like, Jesus, here we go. So brings out the manager, this Deb. Deb's the manager. Shout out Deb in Holiday. And she comes out and she's just standing there, and they're both standing next to her, just staring at this machine. They're like, "Do you need a hunting or fishing license?" And I go, "Hunting license." And they're like
distressed.
I'm on the other end of this thing. And literally, I'm just like, can I just do it? Oh, no, you can't come back here. Okay, that's fine. So I'm there for probably 30 minutes. No license printed. I ended up just driving 30 minutes to go to another store to get it. It's like, you can't even go to these places and buy them. Why do they even sell them there? It's not like you to print this thing out. You literally click like 4 buttons. Print. Unbelievable.
Like literally, you just fill your name out, you click the button, and you're
don't
like,
even. All they do is take your driver's license and swipe it.
That's
They didn't
literally
fill anything
that's
out.
literally it. That's literally
That's
it.
the whole thing. Like they don't do
Yikes.
anything. They just click on what you tell them. Do you want this? Yep. Boop. Got it. Boop. Check out. Print.
Hey, talking about inconvenience with service, you ever been to, like, when's the last time you've been to a Subway?
Probably a week or two ago.
How was that?
It's always extremely average.
Terrible. Worst experience
Like-
of your life.
They're like, so what are you gonna get? I'm like, 12-inch Italian herbs and cheese for bread. Okay. What do you want what do you want the sandwich to be? And I'm like, turkey Italiano, which is not on the menu anymore. So that becomes a scuffle.
Oh, dude,
And I'm like,
that throws 'em off.
literally BMT. And usually the characters that are working in there are obviously on parole, obviously there because they couldn't get another job because their blood work is just
It's just
all over the roof. And you've got like people with like 4 teeth, and they're telling you their life story as you're trying to pick out, they're trying to decipher what banana peppers to pickles are. And I'm like, no, banana peppers. They're like, how much do you want? And they got a handful of pickles, and I'm like, no, banana peppers. And it's
not like the ingredients change there.
No.
Right?
No. And they're telling you like, and then the two are starting to argue, and you're like, this job is not that difficult. I don't understand what you put this on the bread. You put this meat here.
They're sandwich artists. Okay.
Sorry. And then they flip the thing around, and you got the tip. And I'm like, a tip? Oh, I basically described every portion of how you had to make my sandwich.
Dude, that's like,
I'm like, a tip
place has the tip
thing now. I'm like, you want a tip, huh? Tip. Don't do drugs, kids. Like geez.
I agree, dude. That is getting out of control.
The tip thing it's everywhere. You can't have anything you buy now. It's like
what do you do? Like, I spend an average way too much extra money on tips for things I don't think I necessarily need to tip for.
Usually,
for example, the absolute worst one is I was at the Wild game last week, and they're like, "Oh, here's your $14 beer. Would you like to tip?" And I'm like,
didn't that cover it?
Yeah. I'm like, yeah, I guess.
Well, it's not like they brought it to you, right?
Yeah,
like they
but
just filled the cup.
Yeah, exactly. And at fast food restaurants, it's the same thing. Like, can we just go back to putting it at places where it should be? Not everybody should get a tip. This isn't a participation trophy.
Well, it's like if you're actually like a waiter or something, or a waitress, or whatever,
I'm all about I'm a good tipper. Like I tip well.
Like by my work, dude. There's I go to like Leanne Chin, right? Yeah. They have a cup just taped to the wall on the outside of the building at the drive-thru that says tip on it.
Yeah, that's perfect.
At the drive-thru, like I'm gonna roll up and be like, "Wow, thank you for talking me through the speaker." $5. Like it's literally taped on the exterior of the building, just with like duct tape.
Incredible. All right, to wrap up notes on our phone, I got a couple, and I just want to check in with you guys on this. But I went to California with a girlfriend like a week or two ago, and it was pretty cool, except it was literally cloudy the whole time. We saw the sun for 20 minutes. So when people tell you California is always sunny, it's bullshit. It is actually not. But one of the first observations I put down was, whatever stereotype you have about how California people dressed, it is 100% true. Like, it is the most like bougie pants, bougie shirts. Everybody's wearing flip-flops, doesn't matter. And I saw 4 winter jackets, and it was 71 and cloudy. Like, I am talking puffy goose down winter jackets, and it was 71 and sunny.
It's cold, man. It's cold.
Did the cows seem happy though?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And another huge observation I had at my hotel. Listen to this. You have to pay for Wi-Fi at every hotel down there around LA that I could find. We were staying in Anaheim, but basically every hotel I could find, you have to pay for Wi-Fi.
Like what are we talking? Like $5?
No, it was like $18 for your stay. I didn't do it because I was like, I have 5G. We're in LA.
For the duration of your stay, you have to pay for Wi-Fi.
Yeah, and dude, like, I thought it was just one of the hotels I was looking at or whatever, and I looked through like 20 to 30 different hotels, and there's no complimentary breakfast at any of them, which that was kind of whatever. But all of them, you had to pay for Wi-Fi.
Well, if I'm paying $18 for Wi-Fi, I better be getting some breakfast.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, 18. I mean, it's not like it's like $5. I mean, that's
even $5 is like it's Wi-Fi.
Yeah, but like, how do they measure that? How are they like, yeah, you have to pay $18? Like, this hotel was like 10 stories. You have like 700 rooms. Everybody pays $10 for Wi-Fi. Like, how much money are they making on Wi-Fi? Your Wi-Fi bill is not that expensive.
You can't just like get the code from somebody else or what?
Yeah, no, I don't know. I just saw it and I was like, that's a waste of money.
You should have started knocking on doors. Like, dude, can I get
Like,
the,
yeah,
Like, I'll give you
Wi-Fi
$5 for the Wi-Fi code.
dude, hook it up with the code, brother.
Oh, that would have been great. The only other observation I had from there though was there are a lot of Instagram photo shoots going on everywhere. The best one I had was there was this I'm assuming he was gay. Guy was with his best girlfriend and they were both dressed up really nice and they were on the hotel or the like bar roof at one of the places we were at and it was sunset. They took pictures for an hour. Just different poses around all the area and I was like, you guys are killing it.
Yep.
You gotta respect that, dude.
I mean, the hustle is crazy. One of my favorite pages on Instagram is influencers in the wild, and it's people capturing the people influencing, and they're like getting deep and just like giggling, and the people are not breaking composure. They're like waving their hands like on the beach or something, or they're like slipping their pants down slightly in public. It's the funniest crap ever. It is so funny.
That's like takes the right amount of confidence though to just give her.
I mean, when you're getting a 20% off code from such and such shoes, absolutely.
You got to take what you can get out.
I'll throw it out there.
Yeah, I'd agree. No, and then the last one I have, this actually just happened the other day because I went out to dinner. And so for the first time in my life, I obviously like steak. Like I grew up on a farm and everything, but I've never been like, oh, I need to buy this really expensive steak. And the other day I was like at a fancy restaurant and I was like, you know what? I'm going to bite the bullet and buy the steak. At what price is a steak too expensive or you guys will not or will pay for it? I will preface this by saying, like I said, I've done this once. The steak was $48. It was ridiculous, but it was unbelievable.
But what kind of steak are we talking about? I think that's what matters here.
It was a ribeye.
I'm gonna go to Ryan down there first.
I'm saying, at what price would you pay? Like, you know what I mean? Like, what are we?
Are we talking like Wagyu beef or what?
We talking dry aged?
I mean, it wasn't $48. That's what it was, but
I think it totally depends on the scenario. Like you said, you're on vacation, like. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't matter as much.
Well, and he's trying to flex a little bit, right? Like,
yeah, you're with your girlfriend, like
you want
to ball out. Like then I think it's totally
that's totally why. I actually just really wanted the steak, and I didn't want any of the seafood that was on the menu, and that was literally the only steak on the menu.
That's fair.
You didn't get seafood. Fair. You're on the coast, man. That's the best place to
No, this one was actually back around home. There's a hole in the wall, like really expensive restaurant in the new town I moved into.
Oh, but I wouldn't pay $48 for a steak there.
But here, I guess the real question is, was it worth $48?
See, that's the thing I would say. It was the best steak I've ever had. Like I'm not going to go there weekly and get it, but like I'm probably going to be back to get it.
Then I guess you can't be bummed out. Unless you paid more for a steak somewhere else. That wasn't as good.
No. I've never had that happen.
Then it's a
That's
win.
why I was asking the question. Like, if you guys ever like paid like $30 or something for a steak and been like, wow, this was not worth it.
I don't think I've ever paid like high and been like, this sucked. Because I feel like if you're going to pay that kind of money, it's probably like a steakhouse, right? Like,
does it just always get better?
Like, I want to go to Denny's and spend $48 on a steak.
Okay, true.
No, yeah. That'd be a lot of steaks.
Yeah, you're right.
Like, there's a lot of supper club prices around here that are like $35 for premium cut steak, and I'm like, is it?
Is
it? I don't know. I don't know if I'm willing to find out.
Well, 4 or 5 old fashions. Does it really matter?
That's just it too. That's the other gauge is how much have you been drinking prior?
Yeah.
Then
the wallet's on the table.
Yeah, true.
Bring the steak.
That can bring us into, I guess, we'll go into our next little bit of what kind of we're going to bring to this podcast is like with us being on the road and so much and having stories. We're going to talk about a little bit of behind the scenes of different stuff we've filmed, guiding trips we've been on or whatever. The next thing, and a place we never had to pay, I think, more than a $48 tab, Cody, was filming Chasing Ghosts.
Best place in the world.
Because all the food was like $10 until you started adding up the beverages because we weren't catching fish. And then it got a little more expensive. But diving into number one, the first story I can think of from filming out there was it day one that you got to swim in a lake that was 43 degrees to push my boat out from getting stuck?
Might have been day one, might have been day two. Who recalls? No one. But I did. No, it was day one. Yeah, it was day one. It was day one. It was day one. And I'm like, I remember being like, okay, well, I know how I would like position the boat. And then I saw your boat going towards the way it was not supposed to go. I'm like, oh no. Oh, good Lord. This is not good.
Well, I didn't.
Because it's literally this deep. It's literally this deep. Gravel.
Yeah, no, like, dude, but the thing is, you dumped me off the back, and the water was so last year, like, the back of my boat hit it and just went forward. Like, I didn't even get it back up. I was stuck in the prop wash hole, like bobbing around like a bobber.
Yeah, that was a good time. That was one of two times I actually had to get out and push you around and risk life and limb for hypothermia. But that was. Let's not do that again.
So set the stage a little bit. So you guys this is northern Wisconsin.
This is northern Wisconsin.
Late fall, right?
Late fall.
I think it was November.
It was definitely November. Water temps are low 40s, if not 40. And who has to get out there and push as I'm like giving branches and stuff that I can toss
branches. You were chucking me dead birch trees.
What else?
Like every single one of them broke in half the moment I put them in the water.
What am I, Lewis and Clark? I'm not going to go wander around. I'm not Squanto up there. I don't know where the freshest twine is.
Okay, and first of all, that area where you guys were, I mean, like a lot of those like unimproved access.
Yeah, no, they're terrible. They were terrible. Well, and this is where we ended up getting stuck. So this is the part. So Cody was like, we're going to go to this lake first. This is what we're going to do, because he was the ringleader of this exhibition. And okay. But we go to this access, the one he normally uses, and the wind was blowing into it pretty good. But as you know, in the late fall, there's no docks. So he was like, let's just go to this other one on the north side. There's another one up there. So we're like, sure, let's do that. We get there, and he later, like after I get stuck, is like, yeah, I've never really used that one before. It's normally pretty shallow. And I was like, so you thought that one was the better option?
And it was just as windy.
It was just as windy. It was still dumped it in.
It was horrible.
And it takes it's like a solid amount of water to get your boat off the trailer too.
Yeah, like a big bass boat out there. I mean, you've got a hole that is like 5 feet by 5 feet to get a 20 to 21 foot bass boat off of.
Well,
it's not going to happen easily.
It was even better then, because then we get off of that lake after figuring it all out, and we didn't catch anything. And he's like, well, I got this other lake we can go to. And I'm like, okay, cool. How about this access? He's like, oh, it's not that bad. And we get there, and dude, the concrete cross beams are like, there's gaps. There's like potholes in the access of the beams backing it up, and it's super steep. So you're like, oh, it'll definitely be deep enough. He dumps me in, and I turn my motor on to go back up, and it just turns off because it is that deep. And I just hit the back and go forward. And then I get the wind's coming from not blowing into the access sideways, and I get blown onto a 4-inch sandbar. Then how did we get off that one? I think I chucked an A-rig at you, and you caught it and pulled me
and then
off
I pulled you back in. Yeah. Luckily for that Sunline X Plasma 65 pound.
Yeah.
It's a nightmare. It's a nightmare. Like most of those landings, you got to be super careful. Like I went scouting on a lake for muskies that I've always wanted to go to. And I've always heard how terrible the access is, but I'm like, it can't be that bad. Like, people are getting boats out there. 2 miles down a dirt road through some of the sketchiest parts of northern Wisconsin. And we're talking single track. Like, you get stuck back there and someone wants to steal your stuff, they're going to steal it. Then you get back there. Has to be like a 5-foot breach down a sand like divot that you have to lay your boat on to slide off of them. And then your truck is on like 3 wheels to get back. And then you have to make a 90-degree turn and then go back into this launch, which is all sand and mud. And I'm like, had to make a serious decision. It took me 45 minutes to get back to this launch. Am I going to launch my boat?
See, I tried. Those are the ones when you talk to other people that have been there.
Tried.
They're like, yeah, you got to go for the day. Yeah.
I got stuck. It was awful. It was awful. But that's like the normal up there is terrible launches because there's so many lakes. So many lakes and they're just so unkept.
Where I ended up catching that big largemouth randomly, we went there in the fall to try to launch a boat. Yeah. It was dry land for 50 yards.
Yeah. That's how they get up there. Like, somehow
the water rose 2 feet in the winter on that lake, but it didn't on the others.
Yep. I remember for years and years we could never get out on that lake just because you could get like a John boat out there if you threw it off your lift and like idled out. But like up until like 5 years ago, you could never get out on it. And I'm like, that fall, I'm like, oh, it won't be an issue. We'll be able to get out there. It's this deep in the hole.
Yeah. Yeah. No, there was like a puddle. And we're like, oh, wow, that's the prop wash hole.
Yeah. Like you can literally see where like the water is skimming over the sand out of the hole. Like that you can't get your boat through.
But I will say that's not like an ultra popular lake either.
No.
I mean, that's kind of a sleeper as far as.
It is a sleeper. Yeah, because you were out there.
Speaking
Ryan.
of, we were in
the spring.
That's in spring. In the spring when we were there, that's the funniest part. So Ryan comes over to our camp, and
no. So I am there actually camping. Okay.
Yes. Oh, sorry, our cabin.
Our camp.
And I come to your log castle.
It was a log castle.
It was beautiful.
Yeah. To cook you food and get bombed and then go back to my campsite.
We offered for you to stay there.
You did.
But the best part of that was Pinkalla came there that night, cooked us elk burgers. And I have never seen a man so excited to hang out with people and talk fishing as Pinkalla's dad was.
Just about it.
He had so much fun. Yeah. Pinkalla's just whipping up whiskey elk burgers. Cody, we didn't make a gas station stop for beer, so he ended up having to drink the whiskey from the whiskey burgers.
And two bottles.
Two full bottles.
There's like 4 people there.
It was me and your dad for a while, just like schlubbing it up. I don't even remember what we were talking about. Like the conversation doesn't matter. It was more or less like grunts. To a point.
Yeah, eventually.
Just like grunting at each other.
Yeah, and then eventually mixed in a little bit of food.
Yeah. Like,
well, no,
like
so
dinosaur mode.
That next day we go fishing and we're out on that lake and Pink texts me and he's like, yo, what are they eating? We haven't really been catching much. And I remember looking at Cody and being like, why is he texting me? Like, I don't know.
Well, and then why does
this matter?
You send me back some like cryptic response, like you don't want me to know, like, oh yeah, they're like dragging a jig around or whatever. Like I'm like looking at you. We're probably like 100 yards away.
He was the only other boat on the lake that is Stolski. Literally the only other boat
and
parked
just
at that
by coincidence. We just happened
by coincidence. And me and Cody never saw him. We never realized he was there. And Pink is like waving at us as we're driving by.
Like
and we never saw him.
And it's like the 2 of us and the dog.
Yeah.
In the boat.
We were just talking like, oh, just some locals out here.
Yeah.
Like real friendly around here, huh?
Yeah, don't talk to those guys.
I'm like, God, these dickheads won't even come over, like won't even hang out. Like sick.
That's classic.
No. But in the fall, no, that bite was so tough. But the good old reset button, Hahner's, by far my favorite part of chasing ghosts, I think. I mean, catching some big fish was fun, but the best was after we have our worst day of fishing in 3 or 4 days.
Yeah.
We get back and we're driving back. I look at Hahner and I'm like, dude, the way I always reset this is we're going to go get a handle of whiskey. We go to bed when it's gone. We'll wake up the next day and we'll definitely catch them now. And we pull into Quick Trip. And, dude, they don't have a handle, first of all. Once again, we're in the middle of nowhere. So I'm like, yeah, I'll take the Canadian club that's up there. It's a 750, you know? Mm-hmm. And I just give me 2 of them. And they gave them to me. And there was a dust layer on them.
Dude, that's like
a significant dust layer. Yeah,
fine age.
Canadian.
That's a good year for Canadian.
Yeah, exactly. So we grab that in a 12-pack. We go back to the place we're staying. And Hahner just immediately, I mean, I do too. We both dive into it head first. And we're starting to go. And the guy we were filming with, Eric, he was the cameraman. We're like, Eric, you got to take the brunt too, man. You got to do it. And he's like, he doesn't drink very much.
And he's a small guy.
And I kind of feel bad in retrospect, but we peer pressured him really hard into drinking badly. A lot of whiskey.
Really badly. Like high school peer pressure, if you've ever felt that.
He's like, guys, I don't know. We're like, you got to do it. One with the team, one of us.
And there's just 3 of you there, right?
You drink it.
Yeah, like the varsity captains from Blue Mountain State.
Like Lord of the Flies out there, dude.
Like Thad out there just forcing booze down his throat.
We're like, dude, we will not catch them unless we finish this whiskey.
You're like blaming it on him already.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. But the next morning.
So the next morning we wake up and Hahner, what happened?
Oh my God. It was the funniest scene I've ever seen. I'm like, so I wake up and obviously it's a little later than we would normally get up to. Yeah, the alarm was maybe set at 5, maybe we didn't get up until like 10:30.
I think it was like 9:30, but yeah, it was definitely later. Yes.
But all of a sudden, like I go down to Bart's area where he's sleeping. It's pitch black down there. I'm like, you good? He's like, oh, yeah, I'm good. And I go up to where Gaff is sitting. And all I hear is just dinosaur noises. Just screaming his lungs out, just dying. And he is in the bathroom for a solid 45 minutes trying to figure out what his body is actually doing to him. We finally get him out of that situation. He's sitting in the back of the truck with his hood. Oh, shit. Sorry, Bart. Sitting with his hood down like this and just cradling his head and just bobbing back and forth. Just hating life. We get to the landing. This is the funniest part. Get to the landing, and he's like, do you think that bathroom's open? I'm like, probably not. He sprints over there. He gets about halfway there, and I can see it coming out of his mouth. And he's also has to go the other way, so he's just limping and lobbing over there.
It's an immediate evacuation.
And he's in the back behind the porta potty, and I can still hear him just like, oh my God. Oh. It was a total varsity versus JV move, but it was.
And this is the first trip he ever went on with you.
The first trip he's ever been with us,
and we did not catch them.
And yeah, in Pinkalla, if you probably remember Mark Hugus and I's days back at Point.
Yep. Yes,
it was about that level. Beautiful, just beauties out there.
Was that the morning too, or was it the next morning? Where I walk out and you're shaving you have my braid scissors and you're cutting your mustache off in half on camera.
That's an awesome video clip, by the way.
It is, dude, and that was all natural. Like that was not planned. I walked out of the garage, like I was inside changing, walked out to be like, okay, we're going fishing now. And Cody's on camera starting to cut his mustache off. And I was like, well, that's not going to work. So I went downstairs and got the actual shaver and came up. And yeah, we shaved half of it off. And
it was a sacrifice.
The best looks I have ever seen in my life in gas stations. And we went out to eat that night before he shaved it. Was that. Yep. Like that mustache he has right now, if you're listening to this on Apple or Spotify or whatever, there will be a YouTube channel. You can see Cody's mustache. He has similar mustache, thicker actually, but carved directly in half right down the snoot. And he just has half of it. It was looks kind of a shame. Quick Trip were incredible.
Not only is the visual of that beautiful, the clip after you've cut it off and you're just staring the camera dead down and you just go, perfect. Absolutely killed me. Dude.
Well, it was like a donation to the fish gods up there. You know, it's very very tribal, very ritual, and I felt like that was a worthy sacrifice that needed to be made in order for us to catch some fish. Turns out it wasn't enough. We had to go full mustache, but we had to try something.
I ended up learning that trip too. If any of you guys ever get beers with Cody Hahner after the 8th IPA, like just you got to get him a Busch Light at number 8 because if it hits 8, he gets really mean.
Dramatic speed bump at 8.
Yep,
it's a speed bump and then a cliff.
Yep, and we're gone. We're gone.
Like if then it just shuts down.
Yep.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Precise. But it kind of shuts down and then it wakes up and it's mean.
Yep. Then we get very emotional.
Yeah.
Very emotional.
Yeah. I mean, that happens.
Yeah. But
at least you're aware of it.
Oh, very.
A lot of guys aren't.
I got to hear all about how good the Packers were last year when we were on that trip. It was amazing.
It's been decades since we've been bad, so
yeah,
True.
you're due.
We're due.
True.
Yeah.
But no, Hahner, do you have anything you remember from that trip or Pink when you ran into us that you can think of as being memorable? I'm trying to remember anything else.
I just know I could tell, like when I linked up with you guys, that the stress level was high.
Is very high for me.
I mean,
it was super high for me. I remember being very, very like dumbfounded at like, especially in the fall, because we pulled up there and it was just things were not right. It was a super late fall, kind of a weird fall, and things were like it was turning over as we were getting there, which is never good. And we're just trying to make the best of it,
Well, we thought it had turned over a week or two earlier. That was the problem, too.
And, oh, go ahead, Ryan.
Well, I was just going to say it, because, I mean, because you kind of split it up. I mean, it was supposed to all be done in the fall, and then it didn't really go well. And then you ended up shooting in the spring, too.
Yeah.
So, like, of the episodes you had, how many did you have from the fall?
I think it ended up being like 3 and like a quarter. I put a little bit in there of another one because I went up,
but they were kind of brutal, right? I mean, like they ended up. You had some good content, but it was just like you guys weren't catching.
Well, day one we got on one lake and caught them. Decent for like 30 minutes. We lit up one school, but other than that, it was
not
really
nines, right? I mean, you were
not even close. Like it was
a lot of 5s.
It was bad. Like, I mean, we went to some of the A1 of A1, like, oh, we're here this time of year. We're going to catch these fish, put on a show. Like, this is going to be easy. And like typical filming, it absolutely is not easy for whatever reason.
And how many years had you been going? Were you just smashed? Like your whole life?
My whole life.
Years. Like every single year before this.
Every single year before that. It's just like the most remarkable fishing you ever see.
It's just
like,
so classic, dude.
It's classic.
It's a curse of the camera.
It is, dude. It's such a real thing. Like it totally exists.
Till you do it, you don't like get it.
Yeah. I because like we were going to stuff like I didn't even want to show because I was like if we can get like in my mind, I'm like, all right, we can show these 2 lakes, like probably catch them really well, and then I'll leave some of these areas alone. And then I'm like, well, that's out the window. We're going all in. We're going all in. And I'm like, it just did not happen. And even in the spring was weird too.
We were there a few days early. If we would have had 3 more days in the spring, it would have been unbelievable.
Great.
The last 36, and it's like the epitome of the first season we filmed it was we did see. So the second to last day, Hahner had 2 follow a mag draft in that were for sure 7-pound fish. Like up close to 8-pound smallmouth. Like they look like tires basically following a mag draft. It was wild.
Yeah.
And then the next day when we were out there, they kept funneling onto this one flat. Like that's how we knew in 2 or 3 days it was going to be so much better, was because they kept funneling into just this one spot, but they weren't funneling into the others yet. Well, that flat we pulled up there at like noon that next day, and Hahner caught the smallest one in a wolf pack of 5, and it was a 5.62.
And it was like the dink.
It was a dink compared to the others.
Because you're watching them on live, right?
No, we were literally
you were sight fishing.
Yeah, sight fishing them.
Yeah, they weren't on beds. They were cruising a 3-foot sand flat. Like all of a sudden, we're just like, oh my god, look at them.
Yeah.
I don't know. I know when I was there, like I know I fished a few of the lakes you guys did, and like the second to last day, you know, we found like one lake where they were all on beds or whatever, and you know, see, it was obviously dumb, right? You just show up and just pick them off if you want or whatever. But that day we're leaving, like you could tell it was heat. Like guys are coming, like boats are showing up with like ladders and stuff.
Oh yeah, those like deck boats with the big like high. I'm like, dude, come on.
I mean, this was like a couple rigs pull in like a bullet and a nitro and stuff with like, I'm talking just like ladders, ratchet strapped onto the front deck.
Like it doesn't take that much, my man. It doesn't take that much.
What is gin clear? Clear.
Yeah. The craziest part that I heard some reports from up there this year was there's this one tournament lake that can be good for smallmouth, like catch a lot of numbers, and there's still some big ones in there, but there was an early August tournament, and the winners caught them all off of beds, like milking and oozing eggs. That's how weird of a spring it was. Like that
is so odd.
Because it was so odd, because I'm like, this is not all the fish. This is not all of them.
Yeah, it was a really weird spring, because I weighed in a 3 1/4 in a tournament on July 23rd that I caught off a bed. Could see the donut on 360.
Yeah,
dude, I swear some years it's like they'll pull off, like they start coming up and then they're just bail, and they just randomly throughout the year will pull in, right?
Yeah.
Well, and I think if the moon doesn't align with like a warm up or a good trend, like that throws it all off, and that's what happened this year. Like the moon came in mid-May, and it was cold, or like it was kind of warm, but it wasn't like the water wasn't warm yet. It was like 52-degree water. So like that's where we were running into it, was they were starting to show up, and they're like, but I don't want to stay here. It's too cold. And then they left, and then they couldn't decide what they wanted to do, and it was a whole predicament, kind of like last fall was. Now you look at like this fall smallmouth bite, you see what's going on up north, whether it's there or anywhere in Minnesota. I mean, they are smashing them.
Right now it's really good.
Is it pretty good?
It is really good right now. I'm planning on being on the water quite a bit in the next few days. I'm going to probably head up north.
When I talked to you, Adam, like last week, you said you hadn't fished in like 2 months.
Yeah. I fished this weekend.
You need to fish, yeah.
Yeah, no. I rigged up all my rods here to go chase Cisco fish.
Well, wasn't your boat was out of commish for a little bit, right?
Yeah, and my boat was out of commish for about a month and a half. The good old trim assembly went out, but that got fixed, so we're good. Supply chain, gotta love it. COVID.
Are you just gonna run it till ice or what?
I don't know. It kind of depends. I don't know. It just kind of depends on the weather. More than likely, I'm going to end up running it like the end of this week, and then next week I'm probably going to spend quite a bit of time up north. And then kind of that first weekend in November, I'm probably going to look at putting it away. I could run it like Hayden until December, but I don't really care that much about staying out there when it's freezing.
But he also lives like right in the juice. So
yeah, he does. But also like, I just don't care that much about like, dude, when we were filming, me and Hahner were filming it, it snowed like every day. Every morning you're driving through 3 to 4 inches of snow, salty roads, putting a cover on, taking it off. Like it is a whole ordeal to fish in the
deflating.
fall.
Like that's tough. Like
it's
from a mental aspect, that's really hard. Before you even get there, you just know like this is.
Well, yeah, and you have to drive in 4-wheel drive and like slow the whole way there. You can't even go 55. You have to go 35. Otherwise, you're gonna lose a very expensive boat and truck in the ditch.
Yeah, and just to get started fishing. Yeah, like just to get started fishing.
Yeah, before you know the boat in the water. Yeah, like
it's such a process.
On Sunday, like we got like 10 inches, and I fished on Saturday. But coming home Saturday night, it was like that. Like it started freezing because it had rained all day Saturday, and I was like, God, dude, like this sucks. That's the worst part is the commuting. Like the fishing's fine. It's getting there and leaving, which sucks.
Stolski, how late do you guys run it out there? I mean, like, are guys going right up until they just get buried, or
dude, you can fish 12 months out of the year here if you want. Like the rivers don't. I mean, certain rivers will like lock up in spots, but you could like realistically fish, 12 months out of the year. Because it's moving water, so it's not really like gonna freeze.
But that trout bite stays good,
dude. It's super good. Like some of the best fishing I think is on the Missouri, like which is up north here around like north of Helena, Craig area, like December, January, February, in November too. But that when it's cold and the fish get like really bitey, especially early on, like you can get them, like. Lot of two-handed like spay fishing and swinging a streamer, like that kind of thing. Like that's kind of my jam. And there's nobody out there doing it. Like I fished this weekend and this was rifle opener in Montana and I didn't hunt. And I think we saw 2 other drift boats on like a very popular stretch of river, so like this is kind of the time to like, and get big ones too, cause this is when they're going to get like, I guess it's sort of like bass in a sense in the fall when they kind of put the feed bag on. Like trout will do the same thing, like they got to eat because they know like what's coming, especially too when the bugs start to disappear. Like when it gets cold, like there's less stuff going on underwater, so they're looking for like a bigger meal, so they're gonna eat sculpin and smaller minnows and that kind of thing. So I like the winter fishing. It's just like you guys said, it's a mental grind getting there and getting home,
and then and your days are so short. Like
short.
The sun comes up at 7, goes down at 5. While you deal with your whole ordeal getting there, you start fishing at 8:30, and then you want to be off the water before it gets dark because you have to drive through terrible roads to get off. Like you end up fishing 6 to 7 hours. But it's fun. Like it really is when it comes together. Like, I mean, there was still certain moments where we didn't really see even what the area is capable of, but there were a few times we were looking at live. And you see like 3 or 4 of them start to chase Cisco, and you're like, just do it, please. 1 hour, just 1 hour, do it. And they wouldn't do it.
I'll say this about Montana, like in comparison, like growing up in Minnesota, obviously like Minnesota like salts the shit out of their roads, like, and so then like your trucks get like rusty and that sucks. But like in Montana, they don't salt anything, which is really nice for your truck and trailers or whatever. Like nothing gets rusty, but dude, like the roads get really bad, and everybody out here that grew up out here, like that's just how it is. Like they're not accustomed to anything else. Like it is what it is, but like growing up in Minnesota where the roads are so well maintained and like free of ice, like coming out here in here for the last 3 years, I'm like, dude, these roads are terrible, but then you talk to like local guys and they're like, oh, it's not that bad, I'm like, well, I guess I was just like spoiled,
I think the difference though, because like where you're at in Bozeman or whatever, it's like everyone there is doing stuff, like even in the winter, right?
Yeah.
Like you could probably hook up your drift boat and go somewhere and people are like, oh, this dude's getting it. But then around here, someone hooks up their boat, they're like, look at this idiot. Like, as soon as it starts getting cold, people just shut her down. They're like, no, you just got to sit inside. That's it.
Dude, that's for sure. Like in Montana, like especially Bozeman, like there's sort of this like you get like this guilt, like if it's a nice day, especially in the winter, like because the winters are like fairly mild in terms of like you get a lot of days in like the 30s and the 40s, in comparison to Minnesota where it's a lot colder. Like,
25.
nice day, yeah. If you get a nice day, it's 40 degrees out and it's sunny and like you're not doing something, you're like you feel bad about it because like you're gonna see like 6 driftwoods go by you on the road. Like those guys are going, like they're doing it, and like you feel like, well, I should be out there, So it's kind of tough because like there's days like where like, I don't want to fish, but like I feel like I should, like I have to.
You're wasting it.
Yeah, wasting it exactly. Like you only get so many,
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, I feel like the vibe is very different.
Yeah,
when you're on the wintertime.
Yeah, for sure. Like it's everybody's doing it, and if you're not doing it, then I don't know. It's like sometimes it's not worth it, but other times like could be really good. You don't know unless you go. But
Alrighty, boys. Well, I think we were going to do another segment, but we're running on an hour 20 here. So instead of doing our next segment, we will do it to start off the next episode of whatever the name of this podcast is. But if anybody has ideas for different segments or things you want to hear us talk about or just anything, please tell us. All our social medias and everything will be included everywhere. And come chat with us. We'll be here doing this. Our whole goal with everything is to just talk about the outdoors, fishing, hunting, whatever's going on, the way we always do when we're hanging out with our friends, rather than what maybe everybody wants to hear. So I think this went well. It was a lot of fun. And for now, I think we're going to peace out, boys?
I'm about it. That didn't suck.
Yeah, that did not suck.
Yeah,
also ready for bed.
Yeah.
All right. Well, until next time, we will see y'all later.